Welcome to the Men Are Forged podcast. This is Cartwright Morris, your host here. Thank you for listening. Please rate as well as, leave a review for me. That definitely helps out getting my podcast out to people who may benefit from some of my interviews. Some of you may not know that Men Are Forged is more than just a podcast. It's actually coaching, courses, and content, kind of the 3 C's of Cartwright. Sounds cheesy now that I say it out loud, but kind of simple. Coaching, courses, and content. The course, if you're interested in the coaching, you could check out all 3 of these things on menareforged.com. The coaching part is you are welcome to go on the website, but as well as go to calvertandassociates.com. It's where I do my coaching through a great counseling firm here in Birmingham, Alabama. I also do virtual meetings as well, so you can sign up through their website. That's calvertandassociates.com. And then courses. This is something that's been in development for almost a year now, and it feels like even longer, just because I've been putting together so much content of how to reach young professionals, that age group of, it was such a volatile time in my life where I just struggled with confidence, struggled to make decisions, struggled to figure out actually, what is my earning potential and what can I really be passionate about as well as good at, and also make money and provide and grow and give and all the things that I think many people in their 20s aspire to do. Many of us, we just don't know what we don't know, right? So my course, is my coaching as well as my course, is really built for that. We get more into specifics in the course, really through my studies and books I've read, people that I know that are successful as well as admirable in who they are as a person as well as they are in business and in building wealth. I've kind of, through my study, I've really broken down into 3 mindsets that I've noticed that they really hold on to, as well as 3 things they do well. And in my course, we break down kind of those 6 things. And if you are interested, go on menareforged.com and you can click and sign up. And you can also make a comment on any of my social media, as well as my email. You can email Cartwright at menareforged.com if you want to know more information. You can set up a call with me. We can talk about it. So that's Cartwright at menareforged.com. And then content, of course. I do have a email list that I love you subscribe. I send out blogs probably once a month so that I don't overload your inbox. Just different things that might be helpful or just something fun that, it's insightful that I've been thinking about. And then, of course, obviously this content, the podcast. I learn from podcasts. I learn from talking to people and dialogue and how to unpack really their thinking, their mindsets. So that's a key thing that I do in all 3 of my things, is really addressing those mindsets, because that's generally how we grow and we change, is when we address how we think. You got to address that. With most of us, we focus on behavior. How can I change my effort, give more effort, or change what I'm doing? How do I change the way I look? Do these things where we focus solely on the outcome and less about our actual mindset and approach to things. And I think that's really how we grow. That's really how we change, transform into the person we really want to be. So please go to menareforged.com. Check out all 3 of those things, my coaching, my courses, as well as my content. And I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, today I'm recapping the interview I had with Mike Ruman. Mike is entrepreneur, owns several businesses. He's a foster dad, big family man. Does a lot of different things. Really enjoy just listening to Mike talk, because he's just got doing a lot of different things, and it's just really exciting. But he has just such a heart. He has a publishing background, but he has just a heart to really help others. And he's got, several different websites and things he does to help, just help ministries and churches in the tech kind of field of helping them in the SEOs, and help reaching people that may not hear about them through technology and Google and all that. And so he's kind of a leading expert in that. And so it's kind of fun to pick his brain off that, even though I didn't really get into that, even though I have talked with him about that. So, but his main website he was promoting on the interview was healthydads.com. Really, he kind of takes the physical approach to health as dads through busy life, trying to provide, raise kids, be a great husband, all those things. And he takes the physical approach. The ownership over your physical health then leads to more emotional, mental, and even spiritual health. And therefore you have more energy to do the things that you want to do and that you feel you need to do. So it's really cool just to hear him unpack more of that behind that. And yeah, please check out healthydads.com. He's got some great little challenges and just information, ways to help dads, just live their best life. So first off, I was, he hit on really minute 3. He talked about the first real catalyst in his life was a football coach, a guy who really saw something in that, that he didn't even was aware of. And it led to him. He's like I think the first in his family to even go to college or even graduate from college. And just from that, really that conversation and that coach in his life saying, acknowledging something that he's better than he thinks he is, that he's more qualified, can do more things. And so that was really a big catalyst for his life and really taking him where he is today. And that was, a high school football coach. So that was at minute 3, second 20. We kind of get into really parenthood because he's a foster parent, and there are just some really interesting revelations he had through that. One was, he was talking about his actual son, though, at minute 6, it was at 6:40. He was basically said asking questions as a parent to build trust. That too many times as a parent we want to tell our kids what to do. I don't have kids, so I don't know why I'm saying it like that. But yeah, kids, we tell kids what to do. But I was a kid at one point, right? Versus just ask them questions, kind of probing. How do you think you did? What could you have done better? How can I help you? Like just simple questions. I think I'm going through a coaching course right now that's really helping me frame questions that actually lead to more empowered future. And there's a way we can learn how to frame questions that's not as accusatory, it's not as abrasive, but invites more of a conversation, invites them to think deeper and longer. And so I just think that was interesting that he talked about asking questions that builds trust with your child. Then he get in by minute 8, he talks about being a foster dad, and he talks about a story at 8:45 about getting a death threat from the biological father of one of their foster children. And he really just how that led to him addressing a lot of fear in his life because of the fear of having that death threat and really confronting it, and actually in confronting that guy and found out more about him. And really he kind of, it led to him really knowing more actually about this guy who, and he was just basically more, just really he had such a troubled past that it just made sense why this guy was hurting so much and why he was acting the way he acted, because he didn't really grow up in a very safe home himself. And Mike just kind of put that guy's fears to ease by really hitting it head on, hey, we want you to get well and be well so that you can be with your daughters. We are a temporary station for them because we want them to actually be with you. And so that was just really interesting. Like he had that approach and that just shift in his mindset, even addressing fear in his life and not holding on to fear and like the what if, but actually like hitting it head on in a way that brings, kindness, love, revelation to this guy that gives him experience. That guy probably experienced some level of kindness and love that he had never experienced before by Mike just hitting it head on. So I thought that was really, really powerful. By minute 14, he kind of had a little bit building off of that, but also just kind of talking about his fears and stuff like that, and that he just kind of reminds himself, what is the truth? And with that guy, it was very much like, what's the truth? It's like, oh, he's hurting. He's in pain. And that's the reason why he's acting that way. And that when we kind of ask that question, we can kind of dissipate the pain. We can dissipate the hurt. We can dissipate the fear, really, at the end of the day, the fear in our own life of like, really, what's the truth? Is it really that bad? It's like, not really, no. But by hitting it head on, he kind of hit on it. And it really, it reminded me of a quote by Seth Godin, which Seth Godin was really talking to a group of people with like how to deal with an employer that, I'm trying to think in a difficult situation, what was the context? But anyway, he basically said, whatever they are going through, whatever their experience, whatever they're right. Meaning like when we actually see through other people's eyes and they come to those conclusions, it becomes from their experience, their information, their processing, their understanding, they're right. And sometimes if we connect with some level of empathy, we can actually help. We can actually shape, understand, and then communicate better our point of view and not think just because we're right, they're wrong, and live in that right and wrong. And so I thought that was a kind of interesting thing as Mike was kind of unpacking that. I thought of that. He had a job in Zondervan, I think is the name of the published company. He talked about that and really how that helped him grow as a man. Really got to be around so many great people like John Eldridge. He hit on that. That was kind of his background in publishing. That was at minute 17:20. We see by 22. Almost by minute 23, it was 22:55, he hit on selling the dream, living the nightmare. And I think that was really kind of talking about people presenting this false, identity, a false reality about their life. We kind of got in a little bit of that social media, people just promoting a life, but actually not really living it. And then it was interesting. He hit on his journey, which I think stemmed out of Healthy Dad stemmed out of, which was by minute 24, second 50. He talked about training for an MMA fight and really how that really helped him be committed to something, really choosing something bigger than himself. That's what he gets to later on. That was kind of an interesting story about him training for that and what that did for him. By minute 31, that's really when he got to. It's like as men, sometimes we got to be committed to something bigger than ourselves, and like something like we can think of that like in the big context, like politics or global warming and all these things. But really, I think he was hitting on like just do something outside of your comfort zone and commit to it, and what that brings. That finds out you have more capabilities. I think that's really the point he was trying to make. That I was like, that it was hit me. I was like, man, we got to do things that challenge us, that force us out of our comfort zone. It makes us better men. We find out more about who we are as men. It makes us better, then therefore we create more, because we experience more pain from that challenge. We have more empathy, but then therefore we grow and become stronger and more resilient in other areas. And then, I kind of asked him like, so how do we do that? How do you continually choose to do things that are hard or challenge ourselves? And he put by minute 35, he talked about public accountability, with him training for that MMA fight, he had a trainer that would call him if he was running late, even though he lives in Colorado, and it'd be 3 feet of snow on the ground, and he couldn't get out of his house. But yet the guy said, "Yeah, you better get here." And the public accountability of at this day and age, we have social media where you post it, you're telling everybody this is what I'm doing, and therefore people know. So I think that was just interesting, like using social media for good in your own life for your own accountability. By minute 37, he talked about really his last, it was kind of his last little piece of advice, and he was saying kind of my biggest successes came from my biggest failures, and really what he learned from just trying and failing. That's what's really interesting about Mike in general, is I feel like he's a guy who is always willing to try something, so he's always falling forward. Therefore, that you can just tell he has a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. And I think that's what's interesting about just growth in general, is like we generally grow from pain or other people's pain. And I think Mike has lived kind of like that, and a lot of the stuff he's doing, like his companies and his websites, he's a big challenge guy. He'll charge you $10 for something to do something for 2 weeks, like, have a different workout each day, or fast something, and he'll walk you through it. Like I did a fast of like a no complaining fast that he did. And he basically sends you an email every day and it's really from his own experience. Like he did it, and he'll help you process it. So he went through the hard of going through it, and then he just helps you do the same thing. I thought that was really cool. At the end of the day, or at the end of the interview, I'd say I hope you enjoy it. And I learned a lot, received a lot from Mike. It's a very, just a different cat. He was a different dude. So, and I just love the way he's lived life, and he's had a full plate. I mean, having multiple businesses, having multiple streams of income, as well as being a dad, a foster dad, challenging yourself in other ways, especially physically, by trying different things, being a husband. It's just cool to see somebody that's able to do it well, and that wants to give to others and share his experience. So highly recommend this interview and checking out healthydads.com. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening to the Men Are Forged podcast. Please go to Men Are Forged podcast at Spotify or Apple and rate and review. That would help me out tremendously. If you have any questions, email me at cartwright@menareforged.com. And for coaching, courses, and content, please check out menareforged.com. And I'll see you next time.